Advaitamritavarshiniം Bhagavatim Ashtadashatyayamim Amba Tvamanusandadhami Bhagavad Gita Bhagavadveshtamim Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Pullaravindayata Patra Netra Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajvalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vitraika Parnaye Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Gitamritaduhe Namaha Sarvopanishado Brahmaha Dodaro Pavanandanaha Pardo Vatsasudhir Gupta Dugdam Gitam Ritam Mahatu Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Bhishma Drona Tata Jayadratha Jala Gandhara Nilotpala Shayagrahavati Kripena Vahani Karnena Velakula Ashvatthama Vikarna Gora Makara Duryodhana Vartini Sotirna Kalupanda Vairananadi Kaivartaka Keshava Parashaya Vachasarojamamalam Gita-takandokkatam Nana-jnana-kakesaram Harikatha Sambodhana-bodhitam Loke sajjana shakpadairaharaha Epiyamanam mudam Bhuyat bharata pankajam Kalimala pratvam singashreyase Mudam karoti vachalam Pangum langayate girim Yakripātamaham vande Paramanandamadhavam Yam brahma varunendra rudra marutaha Sunvanti divyaistavaihi Vedai sangatadakramopanishadaihi Gayanti yam samadaha Dhyana vastita tadgatena manasa Pashyanti yam yogina Yasyantam navidusura suragana Devaya tasmai namaha
Devaya tasmai namaha. सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Bhagavan, that was the topic of discussion. The one who is having limitless measures of knowledge, vairagya, all resources, virya, samarthya, same thing, aishwarya, everything, all these attributes, balam, strength in limitless measure. So what is this Bhagavan? Bhagavan exists? Yes, everything exists. Bhagavan exists. Bhagavan is Asti Bhati Priyam, correct? Asti, Bhati and Priyam. Jiva, what? Asti Bhati Priyam? In a cloak of ignorance. This is all Upanishad. Avidya avachinna upadhi. The jiva's upadhi is called ignorance. Forget the body, forget the mind, forget the senses. The cloak, in which this isness arrives is the cloak of ignorance. What kind of ignorance? What other kind is there? Yeah. Self-ignorance. And Bhagavan has a shiny cloak, all knowledge, no sorrow. Because the cloak of ignorance is lined with a border of tears and fears. That's what it is. It's lined with tears and fears. And Bhagavan's coat, cloak, that same Satchidananda. Different clue. It's like Jiva and Ishvara went trick or treating. That's all it is. Only thing is Jiva got tricked. Because Jiva did not know Ishvara is the treat. Yeah, that's what it was. So it's like children going trick or treating. This child is wearing this horrific mask. Horrible mask. And make some sounds also from underneath the mask, appropriate sounds to show that it is animalistic. And then when you take off the mask, the child, same child. And sometimes children wear more than one costume, same child goes home, puts on another costume and goes again. Just like that. Same Satchidananda in a miserly robe of ignorance, fears, tears, full of holes, moth-ridden. Old, because has been around again and again. This is the coat, this is the upadhi in which the jiva is wrapped. In fact, the upadhi is what gives the Satchidananda the name jiva. That's what we have to understand. Upadhi is what does that. And then what makes this Satchidananda into Bhagavan is again the upadhi. These 6 upadhis that we talked about, the 6 aspects of this upadhi we talked about. Now the question is, why is it so unfair? I, the jiva, get this coat riddled with all kinds of holes and old, taken out of some cupboard, stored with moths and mothballs, both. And then the border is lined with sequins of fears and tears. a scary cloak of ignorance. I'm afraid to get into it, but I have no option. I was born with it. And Bhagavan gets to have this grand cloak lined with galaxies, stars, planets. The solar system is the buttons. Yeah. Yeah. That's how this cloak is. A button down coat. Bhagavan gets all embroidered in the finest of, liquid gold. Wonderful. Shining. And seeing that cloak, Bhagavan's cloak, Jiva says, oh, I don't have one. I'm a lowly, sad creature. And I am without glory. All the glory goes there. This is not fair. And then some jivas become devotees, permanent devotees. Nothing wrong, but this is how it is. Permanent devotees means permanently devoted, that's fine. But without this knowledge of this oneness, the devotion is just not reached its full culmination. So they bow down to the cloak and they say, please give a little thread from this cloak. One little piece of string from this cloak that I can take and keep with me. May the blessing come. Something. Give me, give me, give me. It's the bhikshu mentality. Just keeps on asking. Keep saying, give me this, give me that. That is the state of some devotees. While others say that, okay, this is the big man in town. Such a big cloak and such a all grandeur. Looks like it's a person of importance. And what do you do when you meet a person of importance? You hobnob. You exchange business cards and you have them in your corner, because you cannot afford to have them, be inimical. You quickly make friends with them. And then after that, not only that, you don't stop at that, then you take them a business deal. Actually, you want them to come forward, but they don't, because they don't need you. You need them more. So you bring them a business deal. Look, Bhagavan. I know that you're all glorious and wonderful. I'm starting a business. You be the sleeping partner. You don't have to do anything. Yeah, right, says Bhagavan. You sleep. You be the sleeping partner. And I'll do all the work. You just lend me your name. I'll call it Bhagavan Enterprises. And there are certain forms of Bhagavan that are more rich than others. One of them is Balaji, Tirupati. Balaji is the richest Bhagavan one has ever seen, richest manifestation of Bhagavan. People go and drop diamonds in the hundi. Yeah, all pure gold. In fact, they have a counting once a month. All the volunteers come and count, you should see. And while you are doing pradakshina of the main temple, there is a place where it is all, downstairs they are counting. Yeah, the jaw drops. So much money you have never seen in your life. So much gold you have not even seen in a bank. This much gold is there. Very rich Bhagavan. Rich Bhagavan Balaji is. So better still, name the business Balaji Enterprises. Balaji says, okay, theek hai. Okay, fine, name it. No, but you have to do something. Oh, I thought I was the sleeping partner and I don't have to do something. Well, you don't really have to do something. But you have to assure that it becomes as rich as your temple, in Andhra. What will I get? Bhagavan doesn't ask, but from this fellow's subjective perception, he thinks Bhagavan is expecting something. He says, you will get 50%, I'll go and drop it in the hundi. That's why perhaps Balaji got so rich. Yeah. It's just fascinating. So this is the deal maker. This is the deal maker. The first one was the helpless one. Desperate devotee. Despo devotee. Number one. Despo devotee. The first kind. And the second kind of devotee is what? Yeah. Dealing, wheeling devotee. Dealy, wheely devotee. Yeah? And then that is the way they relate. Because when they see that there is something here, they haven't seen the cloak, they can imagine the cloak. And they say that this is a grand cloak. Because as I said, even you don't see Bhagavan because Bhagavan is you. And the upadhi itself is different, that's all. That much we have to understand. The upadhi is different. And based on the upadhi, the differences exist. And the differences are as real as the upadhi. That I'll talk about a little more later. But for now, just understand that much. Differences are as real as the upadhi. And then what? So the first kind of person, confronted with the robes of Bhagavan in the form of the laws that we talked about last time. All the laws, all these manifestations. And one important law, the law of karma. Oh my God, that is a law. That answers the question, why me? Yes. That is universally asked by all jivas. Why it's happening only to me? But when 7 billion people on the earth are asking the same question, that doesn't mean there is only me, correct? Yeah. Where is the me? If everybody is asking why is it only happening to us, you should say. Then when it is us, it becomes a law. It's not that one person is targeted. There is no targeting. There is no go-getting. And so therefore, the law of karma. And in the 9th chapter, Bhagavan says, I have no pressure to create these people or these jivas or this jagat. Jivas, of course, are not created. But I don't have the pressure to create the 5 elements. I don't have the pressure to manifest this jagat repeatedly, yuga after yuga after yuga after yuga after yuga after. We can go all night. Yuga after yuga after yuga. I don't have the pressure. Then why are you creating? I'm not creating. Then what is happening? The jivas, out of their own pressure of their own desires, are being reborn again and again. I have no other choice except to facilitate the process. He says this. I have no choice. So this is Bhagavan speaking in the Bhagavad Gita. That is why it is called Bhagavad Gita, because Vyasa represents Krishna as Bhagavan, not Mr. Krishna or some kind of a expert, what is that? Licensed psychiatrist for Arjuna. No. Licensed counselor for Arjuna. No. He is Bhagavan. He is represented as Bhagavan. That is why we have what? We have Sanjaya Uvacha, Arjuna Uvacha, Dhritarashtra Uvacha. No, nowhere Duryodhana Uvacha. Even though he could have said it, it is represented in indirect speech in the first chapter. But Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Yeah. And so what is this Bhagavan? We have to understand. If you think of it as some definition of, some concept in your mind that you have of God, you'll be doing a disservice to yourself. This is not the translation. That is not the definition either. It is just we have to go with understanding what has been presented systematically so far. And what has been presented is that everything exists. All this exists. I exist. And all this exists, borrowing its existence from this I alone, which is asti bhati priyam. So then how can I count all the things in existence? Because each one is separate from the other due to the mediating factor called upadhi, the body-mind complex, the cloak, the wrap. Yeah. And similarly, Bhagavan also has a grand wrap. Yes. That's what it is. And so the I that relates to Bhagavan is the one that is ensconced in this ignorance. We are not talking of the Astibhati Priyam I. That is all pervasive and free once it knows itself. But here we are talking of that Astibhati Priyam plus ignorance. The ignorance is not to be counted because it is mithya. You know, like when the eclipse comes and shadows the sun. Can anything make the sun into a shadow? No. It's because of the light of the sun. We notice that there is an eclipse. See? This is what is the fun thing. Similarly, the clouds cannot overpower the sun. When somebody says this is a cloudy day, what makes me see the clouds is the presence of the sun. So really the covering here is as though. So Astibhati Priyam in the shadow of ignorance. The Upanishad snatches it out of the shadow, that's all. That's what the jiva is. That's what is called jiva. So here the jiva I. You know, how many eyes are there? There is only one eye. But the eye that is as though identified with the ignorance, that eye has a certain way of subjectively relating to Bhagavan. This is what we say. Because some jivas will say Bhagavan does not exist based on one's own concepts. Bhagavan does exist. Bhagavan sometimes exists, sometimes doesn't exist. Because this is the accommodative person. Yeah. Sometimes Bhagavan is there, sometimes he's not there. Wants to please everyone. So here we have to see the pertinence of this discussion upon the self-ignorance, because this is how the ignorance is operated upon. This is how the cataracts of ignorance from the eye are taken away. How? By showing that what is inhabiting each upadhi, as it were, is one and the same. There is no difference. There is a visible difference, but there is no real difference. The apparent difference, the visible difference, is not taken seriously. Either between one jiva and other jiva, either between one jiva and all the objects in the jagat, or between the jiva and Ishvara. It is not taken seriously. Because it doesn't really matter. It's like same thing, you pour colored water into many glasses. In one glass you put yellow color and put the water, in another glass blue color and put the water. That's what they used to drink earlier. Now it is not good for health. What is that? There was some. What is that?
Kool-Aid.
Kool-Aid. Yeah. Kool-Aid. Different sugar and color. That's all it was. Plus a few chemicals that we don't want to think about. But this is all it was. Sugar and color. But really, what is the truth of orange Kool-Aid and some flavor perhaps? So sugar, color and flavor, the smell. That's all it was. So what's the difference when you take away the sugar, color and flavor, the differences? What is it that the orange Kool-Aid had in common with the strawberry Kool-Aid? Water. This is what it is. This is upadhi. Yeah. So here in this example, Bhagavan Kool-Aid is the Kool-Aid in the big jug. And the little Jeevi Kool-Aids are hanging out in the glasses. That's all it is. And the Kool-Aid in the glasses, I'm so small. Oh, Bhagavan, you are so big. Oh, I bow to you. Oh, I worship you. Oh, give me this. Oh, give me that. Pour some more in me. Buddhi. Give me Sad Buddhi. What is Sad Buddhi? Buddhi to recognize Sat. That is what it is. That's all it is. You know, that jug even talks. Sometimes that big jug of Kool-Aid, it talks, it crashes into houses, it does all kinds of things. I saw in one advertisement, doesn't it? See? Yeah. It's very powerful. It's like Bhagavan. In the Kool-Aid world, okay? In the Kool-Aid world, not really. Yeah. So that's all it is. So every jiva is some colored water, and you know, that's all. That's the same thing. You just use that metaphor and it becomes very easy. So based on the subjective perceptions, people relate to Bhagavan so many different ways, to their own detriment. This is what it is. So this Asti Bhati Priyam plus what name and form is not of the same order of reality as Asti Bhati Priyam. I told you, right? So what is Asti Bhati Priyam? We call it absolute, because it doesn't change its ways. It always is. It is uncreated. It is you. That's what it is. Then Asti Bhati Priyam, enclosed as it were in name and form, called Upadhi. What is the nature of this Upadhi that encloses Asti Bhati Priyam as it were? That is, we call the order of reality, which is empirical. That was absolute, this is empirical, because the differences are apparent. It's not that I'm imagining it, it's there. I see it. It's not I'm sitting here and talking and imagining people here and talking something, no? I see the bodies in the room. Correct? Yeah. So, this empirical reality has got a dual purpose, appears to anyway. Now what are the purposes of this empirical reality? It becomes a playing ground, a stomping ground for these various beings to live out their karma. That's all it is. Retirement home for jivas. This is what the Jagat is. That's why every day there are activities. Why do you give such grim and dismal examples? Because the jiva is an old soul, quote unquote, has been around, is tired. It's tired. Nothing works starting with a buddhi. You know, this is what it is. Some entertainment is there, some cutting class, some, coloring, some pasting, something, yeah. The jiva is in the second childhood, yeah, or many times over. Why? Because the ignorance is not resolved. Vriddha shishyaha guruhu yuva. Where have we heard that? Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter. Yes? No. Panchadashi. Viveka Chudamani. No. Dakshinamurti Stotra. Yeah. Chitram Vatataror Mule. When the tune comes, yes, I know now. If it is said without the tune, it's very difficult to know. It all sounds like Bhagavad Gita only. Chitram Vatataror Mule Vriddha Shishya Gurur Yuva. Look there in that picture, The Shishyas are so old, they look like ghosts practically. Yeah, they're so old. And that is why I gave the example of, retirement home. This is why it is. So this Jagat is a retirement home for unprocessed jivas. This is what it is. This is the whole thing. Jivas that have not introspected, jivas that have not found the truth of themselves, jivas just that are waiting for the next life. Waiting for Bhagavan, ironically. Yes. Not understanding that this Bhagavan that I seek is myself alone. Not seeing that. And so, so all the jivas, not just human jivas, everything else also. Grasshoppers, the praying mantis. Praying mantis should be spelled Preying. Yeah, it's very dangerous. It bites. But it looks as though it is praying. Some leftover from last life. Some desire from last life being expressed. So this whole, world is just, this is the two realities we have to see. One is Satchidananda, that which doesn't change, that because of which everything exists. Called absolute, Paramarthikam. And then the empirical reality, which the dividing factor for which are the various upadhis, Vyavaharikam. And sometimes it's difficult to tell, but it just requires a little discernment, that's all. So here we have our trusted pot, right? Trusty pot. So we have two words to describe this. One word is what? Pot. What is the other word? Clay. Now my question to you is, are pot and clay synonyms?
No.
No? But you just said there are two words to describe this. One is pot, one is clay. You yourself said that. Not synonyms? No?
No, not in the empirical.
Gold and ornament, are they synonyms? No? Why? Because if they are synonyms, what is a synonym? What is the definition of a synonyms? When you see, they are exactly the same. When you see one, you should see the other. Wood and table, are they synonyms?
No.
Obviously not. Because you cannot say yatra yatra wood, tatra tatra table. We will be in trouble. All the forest hikers will be just, going through a jungle of tables. In between some vines. Huge, gigantic tables. Redwood tree is a table. Yeah, redwood table. Huge. So you cannot say yatra yatra table, tatra tatra wood. Correct? Because you cannot say yatra yatra wood, tatra tatra table. You can also not say that yatra yatra table, tatra tatra wood also, because the table could be made of metal, plastic, so many things. Shirt and fabric, are they synonyms? No. Because if you say yes, I will say, give me the fabric, you keep the shirt. You will just be taking home on a hanger emperor's clothes. Invisible to all. This is what the whole thing is. They are not synonyms. If they are not synonyms, what are they? Wood is to table as to clay is to pot. We know all this. As to, ornament, gold is to ornament. But what is the relationship if they are not synonyms? Do they have a relationship, or they are just random words used to describe the same thing?
They have each.
What is the relationship?
One is the cause of the source.
Cause and effect. Correct? Yeah. What kind of cause and effect? An effect that is non-separate from its cause. A cause that is not entangled at all or associated at all with the effect. A cause that remains the cause without ever becoming because. And the effect is the permanent because. But non-separate from the cause. Ayyo, this is really the head-scratching moment. Yeah, that is what the paradox is, what makes this knowledge work. If everything is real, 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 you know how many reals? Too many reals, too little time. That's what it is. So wood, clay, gold, fabric, all these are what? They have a status, correct? They have a status called cause. But of course these are empirical world, Vyavaharika examples. So they will also be taken over by a Maha cause. So shirt is effect, fabric is cause, fabric is effect, yarn is cause, yarn is effect, fibers are cause, fibers are effect, cotton plant, because cotton shirt is the cause. Cotton plant is the effect, cotton seed is the cause. And this is where you have to stop. Then what will happen? You'll go in round. We'll go into infinite regression. So therefore, everything in the Vyavaharic, the empirical world is a elusive bundle of causes, relative causes and relative effects. The whole world of the empirical reality is made up of ever-shifting causes and effects, relatively speaking. Because the real cause lies outside of the scheme of things, meaning upadhi. Just like the potness is not situated in the pot. Same way. The cause of all upadhis is itself free of upadhi. That you have to understand. Free of upadhi. So the effect is non-separate from the cause. You cannot say it the other way around. The cause is, you cannot say is separate from, the cause is non-separate from the effect, you cannot say. Why not just say clay is pot, pot is clay, then you'll understand. That's why not. So therefore, we have to see this very, very clearly. Is that at the level of the absolute, there is no ignorance. There is no need for knowledge. There is no suffering. All there is limitlessness. There is no creation. Nothing is there at this level of the absolute. At the level of the empirical reality, the differences begin to manifest, but not only between one upadhi and the other, between the causal upadhi and the effect upadhis. That is why it is called empirical reality, because there are differences. But those differences, the status of those differences are such that they are available for transaction. So you cannot say they are non-existent. But at the same time, they are dependent on the cause. So therefore, they are not existent either. They are always in between, to make matters more confused. Because if sorrow doesn't exist, why Vedanta? I can have a holiday. All the gurus can, all the teachers can have a holiday. Correct? And if sorrow does exist, then also all teachers can have permanent holiday, because if it is really there, it cannot be removed. If it is not there, it need not be removed. But it is there, it is not there. It is there, but really speaking, it is not there. This is maddening. Yeah. This is what is maddening about the Jagat. This is what causes the alienation, the estrangement of this Jiva, because even if the Jiva is told you are Satchidananda, yes, I am Satchidananda plus sorrow, Satchidananda plus tears, Satchidananda plus fears, Satchidananda in a sad coat, mad coat, bad coat. This is what it is. The Kool-Aid taking the color and the amount of liquid in the glass to be real. This is what it is. So therefore this teaching becomes of great value, because we have to understand this Bhagavan. It's not something, it's not a product of belief. It's something to be understood. What this Bhagavan is. It's all the laws of the universe intelligently put together, resting in the hands of a knowledgeable, conscious being, whose being is the same as my own being. And when you unpack the being, what is that? Satchit Ananda. Asti Bhati Priyam. Satyam Jnanam Anantam. That's all it is. So that which we call God becomes odd if it is outside the scheme of myself and all the scheme of things. That's why in the Hindu heart, the statement that God is in heaven and made the earth and ran away does not sit well. It's very problematic for us. If you go to the villages in India, in any village, when you ask a person, Bhagavan kidhar hai? Where is Bhagavan? They will first look at you up and down. Where have you come from? What's wrong with you? And then they will say, Sab Bhagavan hai. Everything is Bhagavan. Everywhere is Bhagavan not. So therefore we have to get rid of this orientation of finding out where this Bhagavan is, first of all. This is a wrong orientation. This is what is like chasing your own tail. You will never catch it. So what is the correct question? Am I allowed to ask questions? Yes, rephrase the question. Ask, what is Bhagavan? Don't say, where is Bhagavan? What is Bhagavan? When you ask, we can give lots of answers. Starting with the easiest one, what is Bhagavan? No, that's what I am asking. What is Bhagavan? What is Bhagavan? No, I am asking what is Bhagavan. You know, it's just like when the Chinese premier, he was planning a trip somewhere, and the other diplomats from that country, wherever he was coming, said, who is coming? And they said, and the other person said, who is coming? Now that's what I'm saying, who is coming? No, that's what I'm asking, who is coming? I told you who is coming. What are you talking about? What is Bhagavan. What about what isn't? Oh, now we are in a fix. If what is Bhagavan, then what isn't Bhagavan. Oh my God. When you say what is not, the word is you cannot escape. Yeah. So there is an absence there, absence of something in a given place and given time. And when you cognize that absence, you are cognizing Bhagavan. This is what it is. It's so grand. The whole thing is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So, going further, so this Paramarthikam, the absolute reality, where there is no intervention possible, no intervention needed, nothing wrong with it, it is how it is. And that reality, as though morphing without undergoing any change, like even you in a dream, you dream up this whole story of having won the Oregon lottery. So much money. And you feel like it's raining money. All the notes are coming down, enjoying the dream. And you feel very generous for a change. And then you're handing out $100 notes to all the passers-by, keeping on saying, here, have 2, have 3, have 4, have a bunch, take. Oh, I have not eaten for 4. No, take the whole lot, take. And you're enjoying in the dream. Because no matter how much you give, there is so much you're wading in it. You're wondering how to go to the other side of this river of money, this ocean of money. Should I do front stroke, back stroke, butterfly stroke? What should I do? You're planning how to cross. Or should I just, I'm rich enough, I can hire a ferry. I can just row merrily across this ocean of money. And you feel like the money is surrounding you from all sides. You're wrapped in money like a burrito. Unfortunately, you wake up. It's just that in the sleep you were so agitated because of this dream. You were so excited that you had wrapped your sheets around like a mummy. That's all it was. And you go, stifling, you just come out of this dream. Correct? Yeah. Short-lived but very powerful dream. Now in the dream, what is the money? You. It's not outside of you. Nothing is outside of Asti. Nothing is outside of Bhati. Nothing is outside of Sat. It cannot be. So you are the money, correct? And all those people that you are handing out the money to, the riffraff, what are they? You. And when you summon the ferry to ferry across, along with the ferry boatman, not Keshava, regular boatman, named Keshava. Keshava, come, local Keshava. Then, what are you? What is that Keshava? You. Who is the boat? Even the inert things are you. What to talk of the sentient things, that is also you. So the whole dream is projected. And when its purpose is fulfilled, it is withdrawn. Who projected the dream? My own desire and memories. My desire for the lottery and the memory of not having money. Both of those projected this. One presence, one absence. So both of those project this dream. But unfortunately, that my ability to project as a jiva is inhibited. Bhagavan recalls the dream. Enough. You've enjoyed enough. Your karma. Bhagavan means your own karma. Recalls the dream. But still, the example is important because in this dream, everything, the sentient, the insentient, the inert things, the things that talk, things that don't talk, everything is you. Whatever you see is you. Whatever you think of, you conjure up. You are Bhagavan in the dream, in relation to the dream. There is no lost and found dream. Whose dream is this? Sometimes when you have these retreats, you have to have a lost and found box. Because people leave everything except their brains behind. So because they're in a rush, so many classes, so many people coming and going. And so they may leave some handkerchief, purse, wallet, phone, so many things are there. One more item you add, dream. Whose dream is this? The dream always is in relation to the dreamer. The dream can never stay outside of the dreamer. It has no existence. It has no independent existence. Swakale satyavat bhati prabhode sati asad bhavet. In its time, Swakale satyavat bhati, it just shines as though it is so true, so real, so wonderful. Or so fearful if you are having a nightmare. And then what? Prabodhe sati. In the morning, however, what happens? Asad bhavet. You just laugh at yourself. Because you don't wake up and say, which bank shall I choose to put my winnings? Why? That money, has no currency in this jagat. Right? Yeah. That has nothing to do here. This is something else. Here you are very well aware of the absence that is called bank account. You are very well aware of what is your bank account. You know that all those oceanic money that you were swimming in is not to be had. Correct? So too this jagat. This jagat is a projection, don't say dream, projection of Bhagavan. Everything in the jagat is sustained and what? Withdrawn. Projected, sustained and withdrawn by this Aham, this asti bhati priyam, called Bhagavan because of the power to project and withdraw. That power is the cloak of, 6 facets, 6 bhagas, embroidered cloak. And so too, when the jiva takes this jagat too seriously, then what happens? Sorrow happens, fear happens, samsara happens. And when the same jiva goes to the teachings, approaches a teacher for the knowledge, gets rid of the self-ignorance that is there, what happens? Liberation. Simple. Nothing happens because the jagat continues. It's not that the jagat is withdrawn. That's why I said, the jagat is not pulled out from under the feet. Otherwise, no one will come for the classes, even online. No one will take the classes if moksha meant everything is going to go into a state of, cosmic soup. No one will come. Living, I am free. I no longer have self-ignorance. If I see the separation, it causes anxiety. That's why it's called separation anxiety. I see through the separation, there is no separation. So one jiva cries and grieves. Grieves why? Because is thinking of the jagat as real. Real means paramarthika, absolute, unchanging jagat. The other one, being a little cleverer, goes to the teacher and says, there's some problem here. In sleep, everything is okay. It's only the waking hours I have to take care of. I wish I could sleep permanently, but I'm not a bear. Neither am I a bear, nor can I bear it. So please help. And the Guru teaches, correct? Then what happens to the jagat? Swakale satyavat bhati prabodhe sati asad bhavet. Swakale, in the time of ignorance, it all appears real. Everybody is out to get me. I have to become the ninja. I have to have my defenses up all the time. I have to be offensive, because offense is the best form of defense. And I have to be, I'm a nice person. People tell me this, but I have to be nasty. Why do you have to be nasty? Well, because of the jagat, the world. The world out there is out to get me, this poor little jivik entity. That was Swakali in the time of ignorance. This is how the jagat looked: scary, wary, something to be wary of, fearful. The whole world is a cause to be afraid, the reason to not go out, or the reason to go out brandishing a club, just everything out of my way. One is the introvert, the other one is the extrovert. Swakale satyavat bhati, it all appears real. Every insult, every smart, every bab, everything appears real. Prabodha here means Buddh, to know. In the wake of knowledge, this jagat is falsified. Yeah, falsified. You laugh. Oh, that's how I was then. Oh my God. How did everyone tolerate me? More importantly, how did I tolerate my own self? Everything is like a dream. This is what it is. Just like a dream, it's falsified, and the dream has no value upon waking. Let's imagine in the dream, you bundled all the money, we are continuing the dream. Because sometimes that happens when you're sleeping. You wake up and you say, oh, it's a nice dream, and you go back and it continues. So you bundle the money, and you're just, it has already gotten dark because it took time to collect the rain of money. And you're carrying a big bag, a big bundle on your back and going. And 3 fellows already saw you and they looked at each other and said, okay, we'll split the things. This one looks small and weak. We can overpower this one, no problem. This is all in the dream, okay? They start chasing, you start running, because it's hard to run with so much money. Then you take out some and throw this side, that side, thinking that it will distract them. But no, they are not caring for $500 you threw on the wayside. They want the 10 million that's in there. So they are perseverant and relentless. They are running. You are running. And they have names also, Yeah. One is called Prarabdha. One is called Sanchita. The third one is called Agami. These are the different kinds of karmas. Running. Oh my God, you scream. And thankfully, somebody who is awake, or you have awakened them because you are flailing so much in bed. They wake you up, give you a glass of water and say, what is wrong with you? Drink water, that was a dream. Oh, thank God. Then you wake up, you drink water, and do you start running again? This is what knowledge does. This is what knowledge of Bhagavan does. Knowledge of Bhagavan as I does. So Vedanta is disrobing Bhagavan's cloak, Tat Pada Vichara, and disrobing the Jiva's cloak, Tvam Pada Vichara. Yeah, when the cloaks are gone, it's one and same. So this is what is called Lakshyartha, the indirect meaning of the word, I am Bhagavan. You have to, because directly if you say I am Bhagavan, you will get devotees immediately. At least a few of them. Because people are looking for there is this savior, salvific mentality in people. Everybody wants a savior. So you'll get a few devotees. And maybe more will join instantly. You say, I am Bhagavan, and you mean it, not Lakshartha. Vachyartha means you take the direct meaning, I am Bhagavan. I can zap the life force out of you. I am Bhagavan. You start saying that, you'll definitely get a few devotees for whatever it's worth. But other than that, it doesn't make any sense. Because what is Bhagavan? The cause. What is this body? The effect of the 5 elements. And what are the 5 elements? An effect of that cause, that causeless cause. But what is that cause? Atma. Tasmad va etasmad atmana akashas sambhutah akashad vayuh vayoragnihi agnirapah adhyah prithvi prithivya oshadhayah oshadhibhyonnam annat purushah. The trajectory is very clear. Out of this I, Astibhati Priyam I, Satchidananda I, out of this I alone has come the 5 elements. Out of the 5 elements has come out of the earth has come the trees, the plants. Out of plants has come food. Not out of animals. Upanishad doesn't say that. Out of plants has come food. And then what? Out of idlis and dosas has come this body. And donuts. Yeah. We know where the donuts are. Yeah. So this is what the whole thing is. Not idli. Idli modified into blood, bone, everything. Yeah. This is a idli dosa body. The South Indian will say, the North Indian will say, this is a chapati sabji body. Yeah. beetroot body, cabbage body, yeah, cauliflower body. This is the whole thing. And here the Purusha has come. Purusha is who? This body, along with the appropriate mind, the Astibhati Priyam, creates this body mind, enters, as it were, the very being of this as though enclosure. And then what? As though becomes the Jagat, without really undergoing any change. Populates the entire Jagat, just like the clay has populated this pot. Correct? The clay pervades this pot. That is why the villager in India says, Isha Vasyam idam sarvam. Sab Ishwar hai, everything is Ishvara. Even though the person may not know all this, may not know the Vedas, has not even perhaps gone to school, still knows this. This knowledge permeates the entire culture, where you don't see the maker of this universe as a separate entity other than yourself. In many religions, this is called blasphemy. How can you say you are God? Oh, come on. People have been burned at stake for even suggesting that. This is not blasphemy here. This is knowledge. This is what is knowledge. Oh, this is knowledge? Yes. This is what is called Mahavakya Vichara. The looking into the truth of the sentence that equates the Jiva with Ishvara. For the equation to be resolved, you have to override the apparent differences and hone in on the identity. That is what makes an equation. If you say 5 is equal to 5, that's not an equation. That's foolishness. You have to say 5 plus 4 is equal to 20 minus 11. Then that's a head scratcher. Especially if one is, 10 years old. You tell this to a 9 or a 10-year-old child. You tell a kid. What? How? This is single digits, plus sign one side, double digits, minus sign on the other side. How can the two be the same? Uncloak. Yeah. Uncloak. Resolve the equation here. Resolve the meaning of the word you, which is really I. Resolve that. What is that? Body? No, body is not I. Mind is not I. I is the observer of the body, mind, sense complex. This observer, the nature of this observer is to be, is always in the form of I know, I know, I know. What about when I don't know? I know, I don't know. Simple. And that which is timeless, limitless, limitlessly in the now, timeless, that is what the I is. And when you open the side of Ishvara, this side, the equation, grand cloak, everything, what is there? Cause of the universe. 6 bhagas, all powerful, almighty, omniscient. The Jiva doesn't even know how to spell that word. Does the I come before E? So, this is what the Jiva is wondering over here. Omniscient, omnipresent, omni everything. Except omnivore. So this is, when you unpack all this, what do you see? What is this? Satchidananda. This is what the gift of the 9th chapter is. This is what the gift of the Upanishad is. It's as though the 9th chapter was fashioned after the Taittiriya Upanishad. It takes a lot from there. But there are some. Can I take a few more minutes? Yeah. So take a few more minutes since everyone is awake. So now we have an interesting situation, because the Jiva means the one who complains, really speaking. So Jiva has a new complaint. What is that? Why did this unfairness happen? Why I got this cloak And that fellow over there, this Ishvara, whosoever that is, this Bhagavan, dude, got this bada, nice, wonderful, resplendent, shiny cloak. This is not fair. Who should I write a letter of complaint to? Who should I complain to? I need the complaint department, please. It's like these phones. You call these companies. They'll give you all choices except an agent, a human being. Yeah. If you want a human being, hang up the phone and go visit one. That's what it is. You'll never. If you want to hear the same menu again, press 1. If you would like something else, like coffee, press 2. Press 3. If you want to, then finally, you figure out that it must be the choices must be either 9 or 0. So even though that's not offered, you press 0. And then, not that you got very clever, because they already anticipated you'll do that. When you press 0, it will say, the wait time for the next representative is 24 hours. So please hang up and try again. So this jiva, he's fed up of this, being tossed around, from cause to effect. Each time this jiva, this fellow thinks, I have found the cause, it turns out to be effect. Catches hold of the fabric, it's the effect. Goes to the cause, the yarn, it also turns out to be an effect. Goes to pot, it's an effect. Goes to clay, that's also an effect. Goes to molecule, that's also an effect. Goes to particles, that's also an effect. Then says, I will do PhD in quantum physics, I will know something. Keeps on wondering, are you a wave or are you a particle? And the particle, if you say you must be a particle, the particle obliges by showing itself up as a particle. No, you must be a wave. You look like a wave to me. All right. That means what? The observer is affecting the experiment. When does this happen? This happens only when that which is the object and the subject and the object are one and the same. The subject resolves into the object. Object for which there is no resolution. That is what is Bhagavan. Not outside of the realm of the I. It cannot be. It's crazy otherwise. It's crazy making. And so therefore what? So therefore, where should I complain? That this kind of a thing is going on. This is not fair that I'm left with this lowly lot in life. And then you say there is reincarnation. Okay, so previous life also it must have been this bad. And next life I know it's only going to get worse. Who should I complain to? Person goes to Bhagavan. Is it you? Bhagavan says no. Bhagavan is very slippery because it's you really. And even in the 4th chapter, Chatur varnyam maya srishtam gunakarma vibhagashah tasya kartaram mam vidhi akartaram avyayam. So who made all these horrible divisions in society between the rich and the poor and the haves and the have-nots? Well, you can say it was me, but it wasn't really me. Then where should I take my complaint? You have to take it to Bhagavan only. But Bhagavan will point to her. Who is this her? M for Maya in the Vedantic alphabet chart. Maya. This is Maya. This is the power that is coded as feminine. The feminine Shakti of Bhagavan, which is not a parallel reality, which is not other than itself. It is a Kalpita Shakti, a Mayik power. Really what it is. That makes this Astibhati Priyam all dolled up and dressed up and gives it a crown and a scepter and says, you are Bhagavan. And makes the Maya is the seamstress, ever busy stitching upadhis. Yeah. in the Upadhi warehouse. That's what it is. That's why the Jiva's dress is lined with fears and tears. But fear not. Why? The ignorance can be uncloaked. That is what it is about. That is why Maya's Shakti here is called Avarna, the cloak. That's why I keep using the word cloak. Avarna. It cloaks my own reality from me, which is the saddest thing really. How does it do that? By projecting the one as many. That is the second form of the Shakti. So what is this Maya? None other than Bhagavan. So really speaking, as the Jiva is gaining this knowledge, as the individual is progressing in this knowledge, one is still under the laws of Bhagavan. Even after the knowledge, the body is still under the laws of Bhagavan. Mind is still under the laws of Bhagavan. That doesn't change. What changes is that I know that I am not this body, mind, sense complex. That is what changes. That is what is transformed. But until then, until this transformation takes place, I better understand what this Bhagavan is. And I better use this as if not an altar of surrender, at least an altar of complaint. Now everyone is feeling good. Oh, I can make a list? Yes, make a list. And put it at the altar and say, it's all your fault. That is a prayer actually. That becomes a prayer. In fact, we have such prayers. It's called the Sri Rudram. Nowhere, in no other culture, you can address Bhagavan with such irreverence. Drape, andhasaspate. What, are you blind? Drape, oh you horrible, Bhagavan. You bad Bhagavan. What have you done to me? Look at my karma. What are you doing to me? It said fervently, it changes into a prayer because you're already relating. The individual is relating to the total here. Knowing full well that there is no separation, but even if the separation is there, this becomes a way of absorbing into that oneness. At least until this knowledge takes place. This is how it is, No, daridra neela lohitaha. You are the one who brings scarcity to everyone. Don't you have any other work? This is a prayer. This is our prayer. It serves as a catharsis because finally you can rest in the knowledge that these laws are as they are. These laws are not mandates of Bhagavan, but they are manifestations of Bhagavan. This is very important. If you take the law as a mandate, then you feel like rebelling. But wherever there is law, there is Bhagavan, because the effect is not separate from the cause. This is how I have to take it. So first you make Bhagavan into a counter of complaints, And then in between you can appreciate a little bit. Oh, okay, today was not so bad. I got some dessert to eat. Some sweetness you gave in my life. All right, not so bad today. But yesterday, don't repeat that, okay? And then it becomes a counter for expressing insecurity and fear. Oh, I don't know what yesterday was like. I don't know what tomorrow is going to be like. Look how small I am. Look how big the world is. I'm hopeless, helpless. It also becomes a counter of deal making. We saw that. Look, I'm going to bring you lots of laddus tomorrow. Caloric balls. Definition of laddus. Yeah. Full of ghee and sugar. Nothing else. Yeah. With some raisins in between. And I'm going to bring you a whole box of them. Laddus. You just have to do a little thing for me. You just make me pass these exams. Pass this interview. Get this job. Get this marriage. And then 6 months later, I'll be back with another box of laddus to get me out of the marriage. But that is later. Right now, just do this for me. I'll come with a big box of laddus. Bhagavan says, okay, theek hai. Bhagavan is not unperturbed. In fact, in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, there is a verse that says, Udara sarva evate. Lord Krishna says, all these are exalted form of devotees. Exalted, the one who is openly bribing? Exalted, yes, because there is a relationship. Even in denial, there is a relationship. And I'd like to close with this story. There was a devout Pandit from North India who went to, who was always singing the praises of Lord Vishnu Narayana, a manifestation of Bhagavan which is commonly worshipped in North India. And then, Hari, 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 he was saying. And then he went to do his morning prayers. You take water and do Surya Namaskar, and then you show it to the sun and you thank that light which is really, reflecting or reminding me of my own inner light. So you look at the sun, hard to do in Eugene these days, but you look towards the direction of the sun, offer water, not to the sun, but to what it represents, that which lights up everything, because it reminds me of that eye which lights up everything. So he did that 3 times, and suddenly he found something in the water. He fished it out, and it was this beautiful icon, this image of Lord Vishnu. He said, "Oh, Hari, you are here." He hugged it, kissed it. He said, "I'm going to take you home, install it on my altar, and I'm going to start worshipping." Right now, he was ecstatic. His joy knew no bounds. He was so devout. And then what happened? He found something in the back. Then out of curiosity, he just flipped it. And to his horror, there was the image of Lord Shiva on the back. Sometimes they do these clever carvings. One side Shiva, one side Vishnu. And he said, "Drape, where did you come from?" Oh, it's like eating something wonderful and then just getting a stone in the food. Eating lemon rice and then getting a stone in the food. Oh, horrible. The whole enjoyment is gone. And he was very upset. He was visibly agitated. And somehow he couldn't throw it back in the river because Vishnu is here. So he took it home, and he put the Shiva side against the wall. "I don't want to look at you. I don't want to touch you. I don't want you to be present in my puja. You bad fellow. This is the good side. I'm only going to worship you." Ah, Vishnu, how nice. "Oh, but that one is there behind." "Okay, don't think about it. Get the incense, get the flowers." And he told his wife, "Makes lot of shira." What is that? This suji, halwa, rava, semolina, or cream of wheat, halwa. Make halwa. I'm going to do the first puja after installation. So he made a garland and did this, and the wife made one nice halwa. It was smelling wonderful. And she had not even brought it. And then while he was doing that, he said, "Wait a minute. This halwa smell. And the halwa is for whom? Shiva or Vishnu?" "Vishnu. But that fellow is also there. He may smell it." So saying, he took some cotton balls and stuffed it in the nostrils on the Shiva side and says, "This is not for you." And he began the puja. He says, "This flower is for Vishnu, not for you, Shiva. This flower is for Vishnu, not for you, Shivaya Namaha. This flower is this flower is for you. This incense." Then thankfully he had plugged up the nose so he could happily offer the incense. But he had a doubt about the bell. Quickly he plugged up the ears. You shouldn't enjoy the bell. The bell is for Lord Narayana. Who is real? You are, who are you? Daridra. Yes, that's what you are. You are no one. And the wife brought the halwa. Both the husband and wife sat and chanted the Sahasranama, Vishnu Sahasranama. They offered everything. And then finally he tied up the eyes because Arati. He tore a piece of his dhoti and just blindfolded poor Shiva, gagged and bound and blinded. And as the Arati was happening, Shiva came. Yeah, Shiva manifested into the room. And this Pandit, of course, he could not but do namaskar because Bhagavan has come to visit. This is not an ordinary happening. He said, oh my God, but I was just ill-treating you over there. Your icon, I was, gagged, and Shiva took out the cotton from the ears. Yes, it was very inconvenient. Yes, it was horrible. Yes, it was difficult. But then I am praying to Vishnu, how come he is silent and you are here? He says, your belief in my presence was stronger than your belief. Your belief in my absence was stronger than your belief in Vishnu's presence. That's why I am here. That is what it is. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. So even the person that negates is having a relationship. So the 7 o'clock, not for the online people, correct?
Well, we could try and do it through Adobe because I think we did that last time.
But the same, they've already seen.
Okay.
Yeah, so 7 o'clock online people need not be present. We are just doing a photo slideshow, which we can send you the link. You can see it in your own time if you have missed it. And then, so what we will do is, for the online people can convene again for meditation tomorrow at 7 o'clock. The schedule is slightly different. What is there? 8:30 is the first class again.
8:30 is the first class.
Yeah, and then 10 o'clock is the next class. Instead of 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock. So 8:30 and 10 o'clock, and we'll conclude after that. Okay? Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Something has come. Let us distribute. Come. Come. Chocolate ladoos. Small ones.